I made a video a couple of weeks ago about Markelle Fultz saving his career with the Magic, but he's done more than that. He's continued to rise to another level over his past few games, and I wanted to make an update. He's not only saved his career, Fultz is legitimately showing that he can still be a star. He was selected first overall for a reason. He's incredibly talented. Despite multiple injuries that most players wouldn't be able to pull through, Fultz hasn't given up. He's gotten better and better every season, and it feels as if we're not even close to what his ceiling can be. He's become a legitimate two-way player, elite defensively, and showing more and more offense as time goes on. He dropped a career-high 28 points yesterday in a 5-point victory over the Clippers. You could argue he was the best player on the floor, one he was sharing with future Hall of Famers Paul George and Russell Westbrook. He's raised his scoring in each of the past 4 months, with it all the way up to 18 points per game in the month of March on about 60% true shooting. He also has the third highest field goal percentage of all NBA point guards this season, which is truly unbelievable considering what he had to go through with remaking his shot due to thoracic outlet syndrome. He's one of the best defensive point guards in the league, on top of now being one of the most efficient. His evolution as a player has been great to see, and with his offense taking off as of late, it feels as if we're seeing a star emerge in front of our eyes. To truly understand how good Fultz has become, let's look at his career so far and then this season as a whole before we get into his recent hot stretch. Before we get into Markelle Fultz's incredible journey, if you enjoy my content and have watched a few videos of mine, think about subscribing. 96% of my viewers are actually not subscribed, so if you watch me before and enjoy the content, drop a sub and comment down below. It really helps the channel. To understand the incredible turnaround and commitment we've seen from Fultz, let's take a look at the start of his career in Philly. This will be kind of a recap from the last video. He was selected with the first overall pick in the 2017 draft and was viewed as the last piece of the famous process started by former GM Sam Hinkie. He gained pre-draft comparisons to James Harden and was viewed as a future perennial all-star and elite scorer and shooter. However, the start of Fultz's career was rough. He played in the first 4 games of the season for the Sixers, where he averaged a surprisingly low 6 points per game, while shooting 9 of 27 from the field. He was then mysteriously shut down with a sore right shoulder. Most people thought this might be a week or 2 injury, but Fultz wouldn't play again until March 26th, over 5 months after he was last on the court. It was weirdly covered up by the Sixers, but news started to get around that Fultz had supposedly forgotten how to shoot. A headline like this is one you don't see often, especially from a prospect as highly seen as Fultz coming in. It got coverage all over ESPN, Fox Sports, and really any daily show that covered sports. Clips of him shooting free throws went viral as he had an obvious hitch in his release. However, I wanted to make a correction to this report that I didn't in the last video. Fultz did not have the yips or forget how to shoot. He had a serious nerve injury in his shoulder which caused him immense pain. Philly misdiagnosed and mishandled the injury. He had a rare nerve issue called thoracic outlet syndrome, where his arm and shoulders go numb, and that's what caused the hitch and shooting to be the way it was. No one truly knows the cause of it, but Philly didn't fully figure it out until it was closer to trading him. At the time, the media and fans were not just critical, but cruel, refusing to believe he had the injury at all. When he returned to play the last 10 games of the season, it didn't get much better for him on the floor, as he was still obviously struggling out there. Although there was one bright spot, as in the last game of his rookie season, he became the first teenager to ever record a triple-double in an NBA game, with 13 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists. It was a very rough start to Fultz's career, but fans still hoped he could bounce back. He somewhat did that. He started in 15 of his 19 games played for the Sixers and raised his field goal percentage from 40 to 42%. However, he suffered a setback with his shoulder, as well as an announced wrist injury. With the injuries as well as the clear lack of confidence on the court, the 76ers had seen enough. They dealt him at the 2019 trade deadline in exchange for role player Jonathan Simmons, a late first rounder, and a second rounder. His time in Philly was over after only a season and a half, and many had given up hope. That brings us to his time with the Magic. He immediately improved there. He averaged 12 points, 5 assists, and a steal per game with the Magic in year 1, raising his field goal percentage to 47%. He started in 60 out of the Magic's 72 games, and looked like he could be the starting point guard going forward. However, misfortune again struck Fultz, as he would only play in 26 games the next 2 seasons combined thanks to a torn ACL. That brings us to this season. There was a lot of pressure on Fultz to perform well with the team. Sure, he looked good for them in his first season there, but that was 2 years ago. However, Fultz has more than lived up to expectations. For the season, he's averaged 14 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, and 2 steals per game. His field goal percentage of 51% is also third highest among NBA point guards. He's an elite on-ball defender who creates offense by getting in passing lanes and making fast break opportunities. He's also become one of the league's most efficient guards. If you had told someone that at the end of the time in Philly, they likely would have laughed in your face, as the reason Philly was moving on was the lack of shooting. But now he's become a great shooter. He is everything unlike how he was portrayed by the sports media during his time in Philly. He was called crazy, a loose cannon, dumb, and a money-grabbing underachiever. If you watch the Magic, you find out he's an incredibly compassionate, intelligent, team-first player who loves his teammates and doing good to the poor. Markelle was done dirtier by the media than any player I can remember. He was obviously dealing with a lot, but wasn't believed or even given a real chance. He's been an extremely productive player when able to be on the floor, and has just gotten better and better with time. Now let's talk about his great stretch as of late. In 9 games so far in March, Fultz has put up 18 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, and 2 steals per game. He's also shooting 56% from the field and 88% from the free throw line. He's only shooting about 1.5 threes per game and does most of his damage from inside the arc, but that's alright. He's a great fast break player and loves to get out and cause damage in the open floor. Even after an ACL tear and very serious nerve damage, he's explosively athletic, throwing down dunks all over the place. He also has a really impressive handle, able to break down defenders one-on-one and get to the rim or get to his spot and hit a mid-range pull-up. He's now had dominant performances twice in a row, putting up 25 points, 9 assists, 7 rebounds, and 2 steals on Thursday, and then 28 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 steals yesterday. He's showing legitimate 20-plus point per game potential, on top of being a great defender, really good passer, and solid rebounder for a guard. He's extremely well-rounded, and if he can remain this level of scorer, he could have multiple All-Star appearances in his future. Markelle Fultz has had one of the wildest and most interesting journeys of any NBA player in recent memory. He went from the number 1 overall pick to cast out of Philly in a salary dump in less than 2 years. During that time, he dealt with a serious nerve injury in his shoulder that caused him massive pain whenever he took a shot, as well as abuse and lies from the sports media at the time. He was then dealt to Orlando to play for the Magic and had a really solid debut season. Then injury misfortune struck him again, and he suffered an ACL injury that would cause him to play only 26 games in the next 2 seasons for the Magic. This would once again send his future into doubt, and many doubted if he'd be able to bounce back. Yet he's exploded back onto the scene this season, becoming one of the league's best defensive guards, while also one of its most efficient. He has the 3rd highest field goal percentage of any point guard this season. He's also gotten better as a scorer, raising his average each month, with it culminating in 18 points per game so far in March. He's one of the most well-rounded players in the entire NBA, and if he can retain his scoring at the level and maybe even improve it, we could be looking at a future perennial All-Star. He has a realistic path to becoming a Drew Holiday-level player, if not even better, because of his athleticism. It feels as if we're seeing a star emerge in front of our eyes, and Markelle is approaching the level that many expected of him when he went first overall. It's a truly inspiring story, and he's proved all of his doubters wrong. Thanks for watching. I'm Herm. Have a good one.